few weeks later, Carousel Boutique smelled of lilacs. There was also a scent of freshly washed fabric and an acrid hint of dye, and occasionally a vague trace of odor that indicated that the place was home to a cat. But the most distinctive smell in the boutique was that of the lilacs. The stems of the little purple flowers rested in jars of water on the windowsill, on the table, and on the shelves by the door. Dress formed with half-finished patterns pinned to them had lilacs tucked in the stuffed ears. A bouquet of lilacs hung from the ceiling by a string, slowly drying beneath the skylight. Applejack began to suspect she was mildly allergic to lilacs.
Hold still, darling, the glue hasn't set yet.
Rarity used her hoof to hold a wooden purple horn steady against Applejack's forehead. The farm mare grimaced, doing her best to keep herself from itching the end of her muzzle.
Where'd you even get a phony unicorn horn anyway?
Rarity chewed her lip in concentration as she used her magic to pull her friend's blonde mane into a bun.
Oh, I just had it laying around. I probably picked it up at some novelty shop or another.
She took her hoof off Applejack's forehead, staring at the horn until she was satisfied that it would not fall off.
There. Just don't move your head too suddenly and it should stick just fine.
Applejack lifted a hoof to feel her faux horn. It still startled her to see that her hoof was now light purple instead of orange. She frowned.
Just double checking, but are you sure this dye ain't permanent?
Rarity dug through a cabinet, discarding various odds and ends before finally emerging with an indigo wig with a bright pink stripe down the middle.
Of course, dear. It's completely washable. Your tub will turn purple the next time you bathe, but you'll be back to your orange self by the end of the day. Lower your head for me, please.
Applejack put her head down and folded her ears back as her friend placed the wig over her yellow mane. The unicorn fussed with it until it seemed to settle properly over the bun. A false tail in the same style was fixed over Applejack's.
Is this really gonna work anyway? Won't she know I ain't her?
Applejack fidgeted as Rarity took to modifying the wig with a brush and a pair of scissors. The scissors snapped at the false hair, sending bits of it darting to the floor. Rarity grinned as she worked.
I may not have command over incredible feats of magic, but I am a darned good makeup artist. When she sees you, she'll believe it.
The no longer orange mare frowned.
Not that I mind helping, it's just this seems like going a bit far just to get back at some pony for a prank.
Further than traveling back in time?
Rarity replied, brushing her bangs of the wigs into a wild tangle.
Besides, this is a matter of principle. No pony pulls one over on Rarity and gets away clean. You don't believe it was an accident when Sweetie Belle added itching powder instead of detergent to the laundry when I gave Rainbow Dash and Pinkie those sweaters for Hot Swarming Eve, do you?
Applejack inclined her head.
I thought that seemed a mite suspicious.
Indeed.
Rarity took what looked to be a sheet of paper with Twilight Starburst cutie mark on it and pressed it against Applejack's flank. She put a hoof to her chin as she rubbed the paper vigorously.
Rub on cutie marks. It's probably best we don't let our sisters find out such things exist, don't you agree?
The farm mare nodded.
Sweet Celestia. I shudder to even think about it.
After 2 sheets of paper and a few minutes of rubbing, Applejack's apples were completely invisible, hidden beneath bright pink stars.
Here, put this colored contact in,
Rarity said, handing her a single purple lens. Applejack looked down at it.
Why only one?
Because the other eye will have an eye patch,
the unicorn explained. It took the Earth Pony a bit of time and effort to work the contact lens into her eye. After she finished, Rarity strapped an eye patch over the remaining green eye. Applejack blinked, trying to get her eyelids used to the foreign object.
Well, how do I look? Do I look like Twi?
Rarity grinned.
Oh, darling, Twilight wishes she could look as much like herself as you do now.
That don't even make sense.
I'll get you a mirror, darling.
A flash of Rarity's horn dragged a full-length mirror across the floor to rest in front of Applejack. The farm mare's mouth hung open. Staring back at her through the mirror was Twilight Sparkle, down to the last detail.
Well, ain't that something?
She murmured as she stared at her reflection. Rarity clapped her hooves against the floor.
Oh, I almost forgot.
She zipped into the kitchen and rummaged through the cupboards.
Aha!
She produced a small round candy in a wax paper wrapping, which she held out to Applejack.
Eat this.
Applejack blinked a moment in confusion before doing what she was told. She chewed on the treat for a few moments before swallowing.
Minty.
Her eyes went wide as the voice that emerged from her mouth was not her own.
What? My voice! special order candy from Bonbon,"
explained Rarity.
"It will make you sound just like Twilight. Say something smart."
The false Twilight narrowed her eye. "I beg your pardon?"
"Say something Twilight would say."
Rarity rephrased. Applejack rolled her eyes.
"I, square-rooted all my hypotheses?"
The fashion designer cackled.
"Oh, it's perfect. Remind me sometime I owe Bonbon of whatever she asks for. That mare does brilliant work."
Rarity,
This will go away after a while, right? This stuff is making my head hurt whenever I try to say y'all." "Now you know how the rest of us feel, darling,"
Rarity mumbled.
"What was that?"
Applejack hissed. The unicorn coughed loudly.
I said don't worry, darling. Bonbon assured me that it'll wear off in a couple of hours. Now, do you remember the plan?"
Applejack flexed her jaw.
"I wait upstairs until I hear your signal. Then I come downstairs, back up your story, and go back upstairs. Simple enough." "Good. And I'll be covering your entrance and exit with some smoke and light."
Rarity glanced out the window. Her eyes went wide.
"Oh, she's coming! Quick! Get to your spot!"
She nearly shoved Applejack into the closet in her room before dashing back downstairs to sweep up the hair clippings. Rarity only just managed to find her seat on her sofa when a hoof knocked against the door.
"Come in!"
she sang. The door opened and in stepped Twilight Sparkle.
"Hi, Rarity."
She greeted, wiping her hooves on the welcome mat.
"Thank you for inviting me back over for tea." Of course. Come on in, darling,"
Rarity said, beckoning towards a pile of soft cushions.
"I have the tea already made this time."
She levitated a set of teacups and a gently steaming teapot from behind the sofa. Twilight accepted her cup with a smile but hesitated before bringing it to her lips. Rarity smirked.
"Is something the matter, dear?"
The librarian stared suspiciously at the dark liquid in her cup.
"You do know that what I did that one time was just a prank, right? I didn't mean anything by it."
Rarity took a long sip from her tea.
"Of course, dear. It was all in good fun."
After a moment of silence, she started giggling.
"You don't think that I would put something in your tea, do you?" "The thought did occur to me,"
Twilight admitted sheepishly.
"I remember Pinky and Rainbow sweaters last heartswarming."
The fashion designer's eyes shined innocently.
"It isn't my fault my sister doesn't always take the time to read labels."
"Uh-huh," said Twilight, unconvinced. After a few minutes, she shrugged, squeezed her eyes shut, and took a sip of the tea. One eye relaxed back open.
Jasmine,"
she remarked. Rarity grinned wickedly.
"No, darling. I'm afraid I've done something far worse than putting something in your tea."
She let out a low chuckle.
"I have gone and stolen your mare friend."
Twilight raised an eyebrow.
"Really, Rarity? That's what you're going with? You know, I'm not actually dating my future self, right? That was part of the joke."
The white mare cackled.
"Oh, you're not dating her anymore, at least. Future you is all mine now."
The librarian took another calm sip from her tea.
No, this is very amusing. Please, go on. I expect you to have some kind of proof that you and my future self are together." "But of course, she should be dropping in any moment now."
Lights and noises filled the boutique. Puffs of white smoke formed around the stairwell. The light grew bright, forcing both ponies to look away. The light and smoke faded away. No pony stood at the base of the stairs. The two unicorns stared in awkward silence for a few minutes, before Rarity repeated herself.
"I said she should be dropping in any moment now. Sorry,"
came Twilight's voice from atop the stairs. A set of purple hooves trampled down the steps, revealing future Twilight's fizzy mane and eye patch.
"I, miscalculated the locator matrix."
She said, coughing on the remaining wisps of smoke. Past Twilight's eyes raised in surprise. Rarity's smirk returned.
"There you are, dear. Your past self does not believe me that you and I are a thing now. Would you enlighten her for me?" "With pleasure."
The wild-maned mare marched purposefully to the sofa, swept Rarity off her seat, and planted a long, deep kiss on her lips. There was a significant amount of tongue involved, and it lasted long enough that Rarity was gasping for breath at the end of it. Past Twilight's eyes were as big as saucers. Rarity managed to open hers even wider still. Future Twilight turned to give her past self a big wink before leaving Rarity to stand on her own legs, which promptly dumped the white mare in a heap on the floor. Future Twilight leaned down and whispered in Rarity's ear,
I'll see you later, darling.
and then trotted back upstairs. Rarity pushed herself off the floor, brushing dust off her fetlocks. She cleared her throat, trying to regain her composure.
You see? Me, her, a thing.
Twilight stared up the stairs, nodding.
Yeah, I saw,
She set her teacup down and slowly stood up.
I think I'm going to go home now.
The librarian backed carefully up to the door.
Yes,
Said Rarity.
do travel safely, darling.
The stunned librarian nodded weakly.
Yes, I will do that.
She shut the door firmly behind her as she left. Rarity watched from her window as the purple mare stumbled down the road. She waited until Twilight was out of sight before scrambling back up the stairs.
Dear Celestia, I didn't expect that kiss, but you sure sold it, Applejack. Did you see her face?
Rarity laughed, opening the door to her bedroom.
If you ever get tired of farming, dear, I know some talent agencies that would die to get their hooves on some pony with that kind of commitment to a role. Applejack? Where are you, dear?
A voice came from her closet.
I'm in here!
Rarity opened the closet, grinning.
You can come out now. She's gone.
Applejack tumbled out of the closet. Her faux horn came loose and rolled on the floor.
What are you talking about, Rarity? What kiss? I've been stuck in this closet this whole time.
Rarity pushed Applejack's shoulder with a hoof.
Oh, don't kid. You did an incredible job down there. Why, even I'd have believed you were really Twilight.
Rarity, I'm being as honest as the day is long, said the farm pony, a concerned frown tugging at her lips. I heard your signal and I tried to come out, but the knob wouldn't budge. I thought about yelling for help, but then Twilight would have seen through everything, so I decided to wait for you to realize something was wrong and come up here yourself. The unicorn looked Applejack in the eyes. The green eye and the purple one contrast sharply, but they did not waver from the slightest hint of deception. Rarity blinked in puzzlement.
But if you were up here, then who was?
Her eyes fell on a neatly written note left on the corner of her bed. Rarity picked up the note in a blue aura of magic, frowning as she read it. Her eyes went wide and she took a sharp breath.
Oh, Celestia!
With a swoon, Rarity collapsed on the bed. Applejack picked up the false horn and tried to press it back in place on her forehead. Hey, Rarity? If we're done here, do you mind if I keep this wig and horn a little while longer? I was thinking I might go scare the hay out of my brother by asking him about that doll. Rarity? No response came from Rarity. Applejack raised her eyebrows. She nosed the note open to investigate.
My love. That was a good one. Haha, you sure got me. FT.